Hey everybody, what's up? What's happening? This is Candace Wiggins and you are watching The Wiggins Wager. This is episode 2, you guys, and it's very exciting because tonight is the Eastern Conference Finals, game number 5, where the Celtics are hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers. Just a reminder of what we do here on The Wiggins Wager. We are here to answer 3 critical questions. 1, who is going to win and why? 2, how many points will be scored and why? And finally, 3, the margin of victory or the point spread. In addition to this, we will be providing helpful commentary on players that we have identified as the keys to their team's success. Here we value facts first, and then we fill in the gaps with our own opinions so that you are better prepared to enjoy the outcome of the game, no matter whatever it is. All right. Let's have a conversation. Okay, so first we're going to discuss who is going to win and why. Now, I think that the Celtics are going to win. But I think it's going to be very, very tough. Okay, so I believe the Celtics are going to win, but I think it's going to be the toughest game that they've faced so far in the series. And in my opinion, the biggest question is, how will the role players for the Cavs play on the road? That is the overlying theme. And what we are going to do is we are going to go down the list of all the role players for both the Boston Celtics and for the Cleveland Cavaliers and really look at their numbers and see what it is home and away and what the differences are. So the reason why I believe that the Celtics are going to win is because they have home court advantage. And thus, they have the overall advantage because this is a new series. So you can think about what happened in the past in the last 4 games, but I think it's important to also understand the difference between the last 3 games of a 7-game series and the first 4 games. So there's going to be a tremendous shift, and I believe that the tremendous shift is going to be in the favor of the home team. And because the Celtics have home court advantage, I strongly believe that is where their strength will lie. That is where their advantage is, okay? Role players will determine the outcome of this game. That advantage is heavily in the Celtics' favor. Also, the Cavs rely heavily on LeBron James on the road. Most of all, I think the biggest advantage that is in the favor of the Celtics is actually the Celtic Pride. And the Celtic Pride is something that everyone is engaged with in terms of the whole entire Boston community. This is going to be an entire arena's responsibility to provide that Celtic pride. And I just really strongly feel as though the players on the Celtics have so much on the line in terms of that defending that Celtic pride and living up to that Celtic pride. And I think at the end of the day, you're going to see a lot of that coming in throughout the course of the game. So understand that there's this overlying pride, sense of pride, the Celtics play with. So we will be discussing. Okay, so before we continue, the very first thing that I want to highlight is the role players. The numbers for the role players in this series. The role players are determining everything in this. So let's really break down some key role players and let's look at their numbers and how they've been performing both on the road and away. Now we have 4 games to look at. So when I took these numbers, I was looking at overall these 4 games. So 2 games at home, 2 games away. We really can see what these numbers mean and what they look like to help you understand the numbers a little bit better as you're placing your bets on the team. All right, so let's begin talking about these numbers. Now, these are, just like I said, taken from the Eastern Conference Finals, the role player statistics both home and away. So let's begin with the Cavs, starting with J.R. Smith. Now, J.R. Smith at home has been shooting 35% from the field, including 60% from 3. But then, when you look at J.R. Smith's numbers on the road, he is shooting 12.5% from the field and 0% from 3. Now let's look at George Hill. George Hill has been shooting 50% from the field at home, 33% from 3. But when you look at him on the road, he's shooting 37% from the field and 25% from 3. And lastly, for the Cleveland Cavaliers, Kyle Korver, who is an incredibly important part of their team's success. He has been shooting lights out at home. 75% from the field, 67% from three. That means 2 out of every 3 shots that Kyle Korver shoots at home from the three-point line is going in. But if you look at his numbers on the road, he's shooting 42.8% from the field, and he's shooting 30% on the road from three. So that's basically cut in half. So he's shooting, his shooting percentages significantly reduced when he's playing on the road. So when you're looking at figuring out what's happening with the Cavs, you really have to look at these key players and their numbers, okay? Now let's look at the Celtics. Conversely, the Celtics, the way they shoot, is kind of a similar story for their role players. So now let's look at the Celtics players, starting with Terry Rozier. He is shooting, he's pretty consistent. He's probably the most consistent role players in all of them. He is shooting 42.3% from the field and 18% from three at home. But on the road, he's shooting 41% from the field and 30% from three on the road. So he's actually performing pretty even. And I think that consistency is going to be something that you're going to see more of. But again, you know, he's still very dangerous at home. His numbers are fairly consistent. Let's look at Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown is shooting 52.9% at home and 46% from three at home. But when you look on the road, he's shooting 42% and 44% from three. So again, Jaylen Brown is another very consistent player, but he is scorching hot at home. And I believe he is due for a very hot performance again, especially with the stakes being so high. Okay, another important role player for the Celtics is Marcus Smart. And at home, Marcus Smart is shooting 33% overall from the field. He's shooting 25% from three, which doesn't seem very high a percentage for a shooting guard. However, on the road, he's shooting 23% from the field and 11% from three. So again, he's substantially better at home. And finally, the last role player we're going to look at their numbers is Marcus Morris. Now, Marcus Morris, he is shooting 46% at home from the field and 50% from three at home. On the road, he's shooting 37.5% from the field and 40% from three. So Marcus Morris is literally shooting 10 percentage points higher at home than he is on the road. These are numbers that you can bank on, that it's going to be closer to his home shooting percentage. So keep these in mind when you think about these numbers. These role players' numbers are going to determine the outcome of this game. Okay, so now let's talk about point number 2. How many points will be scored and why? So my number is 205 points. That is a number that I believe will be scored, and I know that the line is at 206. So I'm under that. My older brother Alan, he also put in his bets, and he's putting his number at 203. So both my brother and I are both under the line at 206, and I'm at 205, and my brother's at 203. So now moving on to point spread or the margin of victory. I actually feel like the game will be really tough, but I think that the range will be a lot bigger in terms of the margin of victory. So I have the final score at 107 to 98, which is a +9 for the Celtics. I know that seems like a lot, but I just feel like with everything that's playing into it, I think the game will be tough, but I still think that the Celtics will be able to win by a comfortable margin. My brother Alan believes the game will be a little bit closer, and his numbers are 104 to 99, which is giving the Celtics a +5 margin of victory. The point spread is very close in this game, with some predicting the Cavaliers to win by +1 and some predicting the Celtics winning by +1. So the point spread is really plus or minus 1, and some are even. This is going to be a very hard call to make. It is my hope that with explaining some of those numbers and people really understanding how important these role players are going to be in determining the outcome of this game, that might help you make a better bet for who's going to win. Okay, so finally, we are going to end by talking about some of the key players that we have identified as the keys to the success. And we'll start with the Celtics. We believe that it starts with Terry Rozier. It begins and ends with him. He's the point guard. He's the leader of the team. He's the heart of the team. And really, after Al Horford, it really starts with him. It really, all eyes are going to be focusing on him, on his toughness, his confidence. And he really must set the tone on defense first, okay? He is going to be picking up early on George Hill. He's got to make George Hill's life tough. He's also has to, you want LeBron to beat you, but you also want to dare the others to shoot as well. So there's this cat and mouse game that Terry will be playing, and he has to make it hard for Hill. He has to gamble off of Hill. He has to help LeBron. He has to figure out when to pick and choose his moments, and his play and like his confidence and all that he brings is going to be the biggest key to the success for the Celtics. Also, Jaylen Brown. Huge. We looked at his numbers and the role that he plays. He has to be aggressive and be smart. And my brother mentioned that he really needs the game to slow down, and he slows his game down a little bit, and it helps him so much dramatically. So the pace that he plays at and the approach that he takes will really kind of also determine the way the game is for the Celtics. And then also Tatum, he is just so great. He's just going to continue to be great. He's got to make a lot of plays. He has to defend well, which he always does. And I believe that those combinations with the Celtic Pride, which is the biggest X factor of the game. Don't forget that Celtic Pride. Biggest X factor, and they are just so hard to beat at home. And the Celtic Pride is really what I believe brings them to another level where their talent just emanates. Okay, so now let's finish off by talking about some of these key Cavs players. Now, if the Cavs win, I believe it will be very, very close. That 1 point margin or 2 points or 3 points. There'll be one possession point. It'll be very, very close if the Cavs do win. And you need to understand that when you're betting on the Cavs, here's who you are really betting on. If you choose the Cavs, you're not betting on LeBron. You're really betting on these role players and how they play around LeBron. So really understand when you do place your bet on the Cavs, you're betting on these players, okay? And basically the whole game for the Cavs need to step up. Those players we mentioned before, but my brother was mentioning he feels as though the number one player that is very important and critical to the success for the Cavs is Tristan Thompson. Tristan Thompson has to have the game of his life in order for this team to be successful and win on the road. He's the biggest key because his inside presence, he has to get extra possessions, getting stops, playing defense, and just doing all the little things that it takes to win. Now, it's important to note that Tristan Thompson is actually shooting better on the road in this Eastern Conference Finals than he is at home. He is shooting 67% from the field on the road, and he's shooting 60% at home. So his shooting percentages are actually doing very well. So he can continue on that path. It's really his defense and his extra possessions, his ability to do more, to do the little things, and to dig deep and to find ways to help his team be successful. That is going to be the key for the Cavaliers to win this. Also, Larry Nance, he can really step up. He needs to be a little tougher, more aggressive offensively. And also, Kyle Korver is a very, very important key. You saw the numbers, you heard them a little bit earlier before, and how stark of a contrast his numbers are from how he shoots at home versus how he shoots on the road. Well, we're going to need those shooting percentages to be a lot higher on the road if the Cavaliers want to have success. And he gets his shots in spurts. He gets them when the attention's on LeBron, and he has to get good shots. And if he makes them, the Cavs have a good chance. So it first starts with Kyle Korver getting those good shots and then making those shots. And what that will do is that'll open up everything for LeBron and give him those gaps that he desires. But if Kyle Korver's numbers remain the same as they have throughout the series and maintain that same trend that they've been going on, then the Cavaliers are really going to be in trouble because they really need those role players to step in and help. Obviously, we looked at J.R. Smith is very important as well. George Hill is very important. And all of them is going to be basically banking on their numbers and how they are in this as the series continues. All right, that concludes this episode of the Wiggins Wager. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you.